So the rate of inflation measures the general price rise in an economy within a given period of time. So in this exercise here, exercise 3.1, we have to calculate the rate of inflation. In order to calculate the rate of inflation, we have to use the GDP deflator. So when calculating the rate of inflation for 2017, we need the GDP deflator for 2017 and the GDP deflator for 2016. We plug this in, so we have 0.85 minus 0.97 over 0.97, and this gives us 0.01, which tells us that the rate of inflation, the general price rise in the economy from 2016 to 2017, is equal to 1%. Calculating the rate of inflation for 2018, we do the same. So we use the GDP deflator for 2018, and we need the GDP deflator for 2017. We plug it in, so we have 1 minus 0.98 over the GDP deflator for 2017, that is 0.98. This gives us that the rate of inflation is equal to 0.02, which is 2%. So the general price level has increased by 2% from 2017 to 2000. Exercise 3.2. So here we had that inflation expectations are anchored at 3%. In other words, the agents of the economy expect the rate of inflation to be 3%. In the previous exercise, we found that the rate of inflation in 2017 was equal to 1%. The difference between actual inflation in 2017 and the expected rate of inflation is equal to minus 2%. And what is this? Well, this here is the rate of inflation in 2017. This here is the expected rate of inflation. And this is also what we have on the left-hand side of our Phillips curve equation. So the left-hand side of the Phillips curve equation is negative. For the equality sign to hold, the right-hand side must also be negative. And we know that alpha and L are positive parameters. And the only way that the right-hand side can be negative is whenever the difference between output and potential output is less than 0. So output in 2017 minus the natural level of output must also be negative. Just if we take a look at the Phillips curve equation. So we have that the left-hand side is negative. The only way for the right-hand side to be negative is that the actual or realized output level in 2017 is less than the natural level of output. So realized output in 17 must be lower than the natural level of output. The intuition is very simple. So if you take a look at the Phillips curve equation, you have that the rate of inflation depends positively on the output level. The overall demand for goods and services are lower than the natural level of demand, and therefore the pressure on the prices are much lower than expected. The general price rise is lower than what the agents of the economy expected due to a lower demand, due to a lower overall demand for goods and services in this economy. The story is the same for 2018. So if you take a look at 2018, we found that the rate of inflation in 2018 was equal to 2%. So realized inflation minus expected inflation. So in this economy, inflation expectations are anchored at 3%, meaning that the agents of the economy expect the inflation rate to be constant over time. That is given in the exercise. So the difference between actual inflation and expected inflation is now equal to minus 1%. This is still negative, but it is not as negative as we had it before. Now it is minus 1%, before it was minus 2%. That means that the realized output level in 2018 is much closer to the natural level of output. So realized inflation in 2018 is equal to 2%. What drives inflation? That is the actual output level, that is the amount of goods and services being produced in the economy, which is driven by the demand side of the economy. Okay, so if there's a higher demands for goods and services in the economy, production will be higher, output will be higher, and also prices will be higher. And this is also reflected in this higher rate of inflation in 2018 compared to 2017. What should the central bank do if it wants to bring about output to its natural level? So from earlier we saw that the realized rate of inflation in both periods, both in 2017 and in 2018, was lower than the expected rate of inflation of 3%. So when this is the case, we saw that the realized output was lower than the natural level of output. So what should the central bank do if it wants to bring about an increase in output? An increase in the realized level of output, an output level that is actually equal to its natural level of output. So remember, the central bank controls the policy rate R. So in order to bring about an increase in the output level, such that the output becomes equal to its natural level, it should decrease the interest rate from R prime to R double prime. When the real interest rate is equal to R double prime, we have that the realized output level will be equal to the natural level of output. The intuition is that whenever the central bank decreases the policy rate, the cost of borrowing decreases, and when the cost of borrowing is lower, people will invest more and total investments will increase in the economy. This will of course drive up the demand side in the economy. So the demand for investment goods will increase, and this will lead to a higher output through the multiplier.